Hi, this is Terry from Vintage Driving Machines. Today we're at Mosier Restoration in Inglewood, California. Mosier Restoration provides a wide array of service and restoration services on antique cars, European classics and American classics. And today we're going to speak with Bob Mosier, the owner, and he'll tell us a little bit about his shop, what he does, and how it works.
I grew up in the neighborhood with Phil Hill, the race driver, and you know, when we were kids, we'd ride our bikes up to his house and watch him work on the old cars. Of course, he was racing, so he was out of the country quite a bit. When I graduated from high school, I was racing motorcycles and traveling, and I couldn't have a real job. And coincidentally, he had recently retired from racing and had a bunch of cars that he wanted to restore. So he asked me one day, invited me to work for him there at the house, and so I did. And we worked there for a number of years, and then in 1972 started a business called Hill & Vaughn. I was asked by one of the clients to restore a car for him, and we found a way to keep it friendly, and I started a job for a gentleman named Jack Frank, and we've been here ever since 1978. We were, for many years, strictly a restoration business, and over the years they've developed a larger and larger service business. Our customers will buy a car, and before they can use it, we need to get it in here, make sure the brakes are adjusted appropriately, and the clutch and the steering and the engine run on the dyno, and on and on and on. So
why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're working on here in the shop right now?
Well, this is the only car that we're restoring. We've done a complete body-off, frame-up restoration on this 1913 Mercer Raceabout. It's finished in blue, which is one of the colors that were available at that time. It's a late Mercer. It's a 1913 Mercer, so it's a 4-speed, very desirable car. And this one is one that has the majority of its sheet metal work is original. We've replaced portions of the fender skins, but the rest of it is essentially original sheet metal. It's not just painted and plated. Every shackle bushing, every transmission bearing, everything is new. All of it is refitted, remachined, and so that the experience of driving this car is essentially that of driving a brand new car. You know, this car had been sort of restored back in the 50s, but it was worn out mechanically. So it looked sort of presentable, right. But every time the poor guy would try to use it, something would break. We first began discussions on this job with regard only to the mechanical. And my position was, let's restore all the mechanical. Let's take the engine out and the gearbox and the steering and the brakes, and let's rebuild all that stuff, because the rest of it looks fine. It was in perfect condition for touring. But this gentleman has very high standards for the cosmetics of his cars, and he takes really, really good care of his cars. So we had 3 or 4 meetings before he finally persuaded me that if we're going to take the car far enough apart to overhaul all the mechanicals, we should at the same time just go ahead and paint and plate everything, because he will take care of it. I know he will, because he has other cars we've restored for him, and this car will look like this when it has 10,000 miles on it. It's the prototype Olds Limited. We have to fix the steering and the brakes and adjust the clutch and fix the engine. There were leaking castings. There were castings on the engine that were rotted clear through, and they were leaking. So, you know, it was a beautiful thing to look at, but just not functional. We're in the process now of having the engine welded and repaired, or the crankcase welded and repaired and machined, and then we will assemble it here.